Unraveling the Madness. Aemond One-Eyes Targaryen's Descent into Psychopathy. In the tumultuous history of Westeros, the Targaryen dynasty has produced its fair share of enigmatic and often troubled individuals. Yet few figures stand out as starkly as Aemond One-Eye Targaryen, whose descent into madness and brutality remains a chilling testament to the dark side of power and privilege. Aemond Targaryen, born into the royal House Targaryen, was destined for greatness, or so it seemed. As the son of King Viserys I Targaryen and the younger half-brother of Queen Rhaenyra Targaryen, he possessed all the trappings of royalty: wealth, influence, and the fabled blood of old Valyria coursing through his veins, as well as combat training from the best fighters in the world. From an early age, however, Aemond exhibited signs of a troubled and disturbed mind. His love for violence and cruelty was evident even in childhood, as he delighted in tormenting his siblings and subjecting his playmates to unspeakable acts of cruelty. Now we'll examine the psychopathic traits that Aemond possesses. The checklist for psychopathic traits typically refers to the Hare Psychopathy Checklist Revised, which is a diagnostic tool used to assess psychopathy in individuals. Developed by a Canadian psychologist, Robert D. Hare, the PCLR consists of 20 items that measure various personality traits and behaviors associated with psychopathy. Here are 14 out of the 20 items typically included in the checklist that apply to Aemond One-Eye. 1. Glibness/superficial charm. Psychopaths are often skilled at charming others and presenting themselves in a favorable light, even when their intentions are manipulative or deceitful. Aemond is charming when he wants to be, able to use his political acumen and street knowledge to get what he wants. 2. Grandiose sense of self-worth. Psychopaths may have an inflated view of their own abilities and importance, exhibiting arrogance and insensitive entitlement. Aemond viewed himself as superior due to his status as a dragon rider of the largest dragon in the world, Vhagar, and his royal status of a descendant of old Valyria of House Targaryen, and Westerosi nobility of the wealthy and influential House Hightower. 3. The need for stimulation's proneness to boredom. Psychopaths frequently seek out excitement and novelty, becoming easily bored with routine or mundane activities. Aemond is always on the lookout for a fight or challenge. He scoffs at the idea of simple tourneys in revulsion as he craves for actual combat and war. 4. Conning and manipulative. Psychopaths engage in manipulative behavior to exploit others for their own benefit, often using charm and deception to achieve their own goals. Aemond does this in spades, as he often antagonizes those around him to gain an upper hand through underhanded means. 5. Lack of remorse or guilt. Psychopaths demonstrate a profound absence of empathy and remorse for their actions, showing little concern or feelings for the well-being of others. His murder of Lucerys, his own nephew, with such callous disregard shows a lack of remorse and guilt. He is a kinslayer, the worst you could be in Westeros culture, even worse than being a bastard. 6. Shallow affect. Psychopaths may exhibit a superficial range of emotions, appearing cold, detached, or indifferent to the suffering of others. Aemond often has a lack of expression on his face unless insulted or enraged. 7. Callous lack of empathy. Psychopaths demonstrate a lack of empathy and compassion for others, showing little concern for the impact of their actions on those around them. His burning of the riverlands and terrorizing the small folk in his wake shows this. 8. Parasitic lifestyle. Psychopaths often rely on others for financial support or resources, exploiting relationships for personal gain without regard to the well-being of their victims. Aemond grew up into two wealthy and powerful families. He never wanted for anything or worked a hard day in his life. He lived off of the backs of others. 9. Poor behavioral controls. Psychopaths may have difficulty controlling their impulses and acting impulsively without considering the consequences of their actions. On a whim, Aemond can snap at those around him, displaying a poor lack of impulse control. Psychopaths may act impulsively. 10. Early behavior problems. Psychopaths often exhibit antisocial behavior from a young age, including delinquency, aggression, and defiance of authority figures. He nearly murdered his nephews and cousins at a young age in a childish fight that left him without an eye, and dared to defy his parents' wishes and mounted Vhagar. 11. Lack of realistic long-term goals. Psychopaths may lack direction or purpose in life, failing to set meaningful goals or make plans for the future. Aemond only had one goal in life: to terrorize those around him. 12. Failure to accept responsibility for own actions. Psychopaths often blame others for their problems and refuse to take responsibility for their own behavior, deflecting blame and making excuses for their actions. Aemond rarely takes responsibility for his own actions. 13. Juvenile delinquency. Psychopaths often engage in delinquent behavior during adolescence, including theft, vandalism, and other criminal activities. His theft of Vhagar is a prime example of his lack of regard of traditions. 14. Criminal versatility. Psychopaths may engage in a variety of criminal activities throughout their lives, demonstrating adaptability and flexibility in their criminal behavior. Simply put, Aemond flew around with a medieval nuclear bomb and used it daily upon unsuspecting small folk, and lords and ladies alike. He disregarded the rules of warfare, killing all in his path to power. Here are some other traits and examples. Aemond displayed a chilling lack of empathy towards others, viewing them merely as tools to be manipulated or obstacles to overcome. His callous disregard for the suffering of those around him marked him as a true psychopath, devoid of compassion or remorse. And Aemond was a sadist. Aemond derived pleasure from the pain and suffering of others, taking delight in inflicting torment and misery wherever he went. His acts of cruelty were not merely the result of a troubled upbringing, but rather a reflection of his twisted and sadistic nature. Like many psychopaths, Aemond possessed an inflated sense of self-importance, viewing himself as superior to those around him. He believed himself to be above laws and conventions that governed the behavior of others, and he acted accordingly, heedless of the consequences. A thirst for death and destruction that would ultimately lead him to terrorize the Riverlands with impunity. With his formidable dragon Vhagar at his command, Aemond seemed unstoppable, his one eye burning with fierce determination to assert his dominance over the realm. Aemond's cruelty was further demonstrated in his cold-blooded murder of Lucerys Velaryon, Queen Rhaenyra's second child and heir to Driftmark, a young boy who had been sent as an envoy to negotiate. Instead of engaging in diplomacy, Aemond callously slew the boy in a fit of rage on his monstrous-sized dragon Vhagar, displaying an utter contempt for the rules of warfare and the sanctity of human life. He was congratulated by his brother, the equally psychopathic Aegon the Usurper, for the murder and struck first against the Black faction led by Queen Rhaenyra, his half-sister and mother of Lucerys. The terror began with the sacking of Harrenhal, a once grand fortress that stood as a symbol of power and prestige in the Riverlands. In a fit of rage and madness, his tyrant status had begun in earnest. In a brazen display of cruelty and wanton destruction, Aemond descended upon the castle atop his dragon, unleashing fire and death upon its unsuspecting inhabitants. The screams of the innocent echoed through the halls as the flames consumed everything in their path, leaving naught but ash and ruin in their wake. But Aemond's reign of terror did not end with Harrenhal. Emboldened by his victory, he set his sights on the town of Fairmarket, a bustling hub of trade and commerce nestled along the banks of the Blue Fork. With his dragon circling overhead like a dark omen, Aemond descended upon the town with fury unmatched by any mortal force. Buildings crumbled, streets ran red with blood, and cries of the terrified townsfolk filled the air as Aemond's flames reduced Fairmarket to rubble. In the face of Aemond's relentless onslaught, the Riverlords were powerless to resist. Many fled their homes, seeking refuge in the safety of neighboring lands, while others cowered in fear, praying for deliverance from the dragon's wrath. Those who dared to defy Aemond's will were met with swift and merciless reprisal, their lands ravaged and their people put to the sword. The Riverlands became a desolate wasteland, its once proud castles and villages reduced to smoldering ruins. A dragon rider whose reign of terror left a trail of devastation in the Riverlands. Aemond's actions epitomized the ruthless and unchecked power wielded by the dragon lords of old. It was a campaign of terror in the Riverlands and its enduring impact on the region. During the Dance of the Dragons, Aemond initially supported the claim of his brother Aegon the Usurper against his half-sister Queen Rhaenyra Targaryen. Aegon the Usurper was crowned by the Greens faction, which comprised of supporters to his claim to the Iron Throne. Aemond earned his moniker One Eye after losing an eye during a childhood squabble. Despite his injury, Aemond remained a formidable warrior, and he rode the fearsome dragon Vhagar into battle, cementing his reputation as one of the most dangerous combatants of the Civil War. Throughout the conflict, Aemond pursued a relentless campaign against Rhaenyra's forces, engaging in brutal tactics to crush his enemies. His actions were marked by a ruthless determination to secure victory for the Greens faction and eliminate any threats to his brother's claim to the throne. Aemond's ruthlessness and ferocity earned him both admiration and fear among his allies and enemies alike. His exploits on the battlefield became stuff of legend, as he led devastating raids and engaged in numerous duels against rival dragon riders. Despite his martial prowess, Aemond's actions ultimately contributed to the destabilization of the Targaryen dynasty and the devastation of the realm. His relentless pursuit of victory left a trail of destruction in its wake, further fueling the flames of civil war. Few figures inspire as much fear and revulsion as Aemond One Eye. His descent into madness and brutality serves as a cautionary tale, a reminder of the dangers of unchecked power and the darkness that lurks within the human soul. As the realm struggles to recover from the scars left by his reign of terror, Aemond One-Eye's name stands as a chilling reminder of the horrors that can be unleashed by a psychopath with a dragon at his command. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe.